Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. On today's show, we are speaking with Jim Adams, Superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools. Jim, welcome back to Around the Clock.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a little while since we've had the opportunity to talk to you. It's now the new year. Things are always in flux at the schools based on what's going on. First, let's get a temperature. How are you dealing and feeling this morning as we start this conversation?
Anxious as always, I think every day. I feel like for the most part, we've done well with where we are. I mean, we're January, 7th now or 6th, 7th, and we've had our kids in schools for the majority of the time since September. So I feel really good about that. Obviously, we've had bumps along the way, but the world is crazy, as is evidenced by yesterday's, electoral college finalization process, right?
Yeah.
But I'm trying to maintain that real positive attitude.
Good, which I think is something that has always been great with you and how you deal with things in our school. So thank you for having that positive attitude, because I'm sure it's very helpful with our staff.
Well, thank you.
Let's go back to Thanksgiving. I think you were in school, the hybrid model through Thanksgiving. Things got a little crazy and a decision was made after Thanksgiving to go remote from Thanksgiving to Christmas. What caused that first set of having to go completely remote for all buildings?
Sure. So quite often the challenge, and we've talked about this on the school committee meetings every Friday morning, is it's not necessarily about the number of COVID cases that exist within Ashland. It's how does it impact our staffing and our personnel, right? So once you have a case where there's a close contact within, say, a classroom, and you might have 4 or 5 teachers who are in that classroom, and now they've become close contacts, and close contacts are required to quarantine.
Right.
So they may not be positive individuals with COVID, and actually they've come back, the majority, 98% have come back negative of any of our staff that may have been in contact with someone who was COVID positive. So we had a couple incidences in different schools. The Mendez school for one, the middle school is another, where staff were considered close contacts of positive cases. Therefore, we didn't have staffing to even bring the kids into our school system, where we would have coverage and or teaching. Now, staff can teach remotely if they're
if they're not
quarantine.
Sick, right?
Yeah, they're teaching. So that was really what precipitated the transition in the Thanksgiving months, is we knew we had a number of staff that would have to quarantine, full classrooms at the Warren School as well as the Mendez School. And when you're dealing with elementary kids, right, they're moving around a lot with people coming into their classrooms for specials and music and different art and all those things. We're still teaching those things. Now, the kids aren't traveling around the building, but the teachers are coming in. And if someone's positive, now we've got, the contact tracing that we've got to worry about.
And also before Thanksgiving, you put a policy in place regarding travel for families. Talk a little bit about that, and did that impact anyone's decisions?
Yeah, good point. So the school committee, we worked on a temporary policy with regard to student travel as well as faculty and staff travel. There are 2 separate policies. One is faculty and staff, obviously, is based on the executive orders from the governor. That's a component of that would have to be bargained. And it's a working conditions to force employees to do certain things. So you follow the executive order.
Right.
But with students, we actually have a lot more flexibility from a legal standpoint. So we basically are asking families, listen, if you're going to travel, and we understand you will, we've been all holed up, right, and haven't visited our loved ones in months, and for some almost a year now. But if you do, here's the process you must take. And that means when you let us know you're leaving, let us know you're coming back, especially if you're going to a high-risk area, which now everyone is except for Hawaii. If you go to Hawaii, you don't have to report it.
Except to get there, you have to go through, and I don't know that there's any.
Well, if there's a direct flight from Logan, you're good. So when the kids come, parents fill out a form and say, hey, I went to Vermont for the vacation week. I came back. So we require then families to wait 5 days, and they must then get a PCR test of their child. So in essence, it's about a 7 to 8 day lag when they come back. to find out. Now, if the kid's negative after that PCR test after 5 days, they can come back to school. If it's negative or positive, then they've got to quarantine for those 14 days. It has really helped. I think Thanksgiving was really the trial by fire for us. We didn't quite get as many families filling out the form as we would have liked. And so we were finding cases, which did, impact some of our decision-making, that people weren't filling out the form. So their kids were coming to school, or adults were coming into our building. They didn't fill out the form and do the right thing in terms of what our policy was. So again, we're putting people at risk, and we didn't want to do that.
Okay.
Move forward to this December break, and we have 150 families and kids who have filled it out. So much better. So our nursing staff yesterday said to me, "Hey, Jim, our travel policy is a blessing for us."
Good.
Because we have 120 plus kids quarantined right now that are that traveled.
Right.
And that's good. I mean, we're able to keep, people are worried about risk of coming back.
Right.
And people not doing the right things, if you will, outside. Well, this hopefully mitigates some of that.
So you made it through Christmas. Between Christmas and New Year's, you changed, because originally, you weren't sure if you were going to stay, fully remote until Martin Luther King. And the decision was made, you're going to go back to hybrid as of Monday.
Correct.
And then sort of Sunday, things got a little crazy.
A little hairy, right? So we've been very consistent about making sure we look at the data daily. And when I say daily, Sergeant Berman, Audrey LaCroix, and I look at it every day and analyze it. Because what we don't want to do is make decisions that are necessarily impacting all schools in the whole district, when there might be cases that are isolated to a very specific area, right? Okay. So back in December 28th, I think it was, we made the decision, we're going back hybrid. The numbers indicated we should be back hybrid. Okay. Yes, there was a lot of chatter out there saying, everyone knows it's going to blow up. Everyone knows it's going to blow up. Right. And I said, that may be the case, and we will adjust if we need to adjust. So we get through the week and feeling pretty good still, right? And then on Sunday, we get notification that there are a number of cases that are only going to impact the high school. Okay. And that has, all week, that's what we've been dealing with. So in order to do that contact tracing, it takes hours upon hours. And our nursing staff is out straight with that. That being said, we kept Pitaway through the middle school open. Right. We've got, I think, 98% of our staff healthy and in the classrooms. And the majority of our students filled out the travel form. If they're not feeling well, they're staying home. So I think families want their kids to be back in school. We want your kids back in school, right? Right. I mean, it's been shown that if they're in school, they're different learning, and they're doing a better job. Yeah, they are. But we're always willing to look at the data to say, hey, if this isn't working for a particular school, we're going to go remote for that school, and that's what we've done with the high school. And they're remote. Now we understand, because they're remote, it impacts other things like athletics. Right. Athletics has not started yet for the winter, and I don't know when it will. Right. So the other schools went back as of Monday. They're in hybrid. Everything's working. Yep. High school is closed for this week. Yeah. What do you mean? What kind of numbers are you talking at the high school that are? So right now we currently have, as of this morning, 26 positive cases at the high school. And we probably have 96 students quarantined. But we anticipate that number to get even higher. So there could be upwards of 20% of our student population needing to quarantine. And again, I want to be clear, when people listen to it, they're like, that's a lot of cases. It's not cases, right? Right. Of the 96, 26 were cases. Right. So 70 of those are quarantined for a variety of reasons. And it could be close contacts of those positive cases. It could be travel restrictions because they traveled and haven't received their test back yet after 5 days. Parents could be positive. A sibling could be positive in home, a college kid or whatever it might be. Now, once you become a close contact, it starts your quarantine time. Correct. Yeah. So
It's not an issue at the high school right now because they're all remote.
Correct.
So what happens when you have the hybrid model going, but let's say my student has to quarantine,
Yeah.
but the rest of his cohorts are in school? How does that education perspective work?
Yeah. So we're actually in the middle. It's a good question. We're in the middle of actually changing some things.
Okay.
Where at the middle and the high school, especially, we're looking at probably by the 1st of February, where we'll be streaming all classes.
Oh, wow.
From our, so we're doing about 60+% of it now already at the high school,
Hmm.
where teachers are streaming when kids are in class. So we're going to be moving towards that model. We're working out the details now. So those kids who are home quarantined will still be getting that same, it won't be the same level because obviously when you're in the classroom, you're touching things and you're doing things differently.
Right. Right.
But here, so that'll certainly help. So those families that have kids quarantined, we're working with, the teaching staff, principals, the counseling staff to ensure that those kids are staying in touch, that we're getting them work. It would just be like if you're out sick, right?
Right. Right.
So in the end, when people think, oh, they're quarantined for these 14 days, when you really boil it down, it's really about 2 to 3 days that they're missing actual in-person learning.
Okay.
Because of the cohorting, right? So
Right. Right.
that's
They're only in school 2 days a
that's
week.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not as
They're only, and they're only in the building 2 days a week. They're still
correct.
educated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good distinction.
Got to make that clear to people. Because otherwise, what do you mean they're only getting? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been, to be honest though, that has really helped us. The cohorting model has really helped us.
Good.
With only having those people who need to be quarantined. Again, just because you're a close contact, you have to quarantine.
Right.
And but moving towards a streaming, it'll be a lot better. At the elementary levels, again, we're not seeing as many kids that need to be quarantined.
Right.
But we also have a different structure at the elementary where we have a remote learning academy where we actually have Ashland teachers.
Right.
So then we can help facilitate some of those classes, can be in there.
And at the are you seeing more at the elementary level where parents decided to just do fully remote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our numbers at the elementary are more remote than
In the buildings.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was good though, Yolanda. It actually made us, at the beginning of the year, we knew that, and we created our own. We actually took Ashland teachers and created our own remote learning academy.
Right. I remember talking about that with you back in September and August before the school year started.
Well.
Good. So 7th of January, day by day. When will you make a decision for the high school in regards to whether or not they'll stay remote next week?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Whenever, I don't know when this will play, but tomorrow. Every Friday we meet. So, go from there. And I want to also caution folks and just say, listen, we understand there's a new variant. We understand there's, COVID is out there. And I listen to the DPH, listen to the governor. I mean, to again think that the variant hasn't been with us for quite some time. It probably has been.
Right.
You just don't break down the actual COVID when you get tested for COVID. No one's breaking down every single case to say there's a variant component to the virus. So, but what I'm optimistic about is within the next, I think, January 7th, early February, to no later than mid-February, educators are on the list. That's when they will start the vaccination process for educators. Good. So I'm hoping, God willing, that we get through all of this. My ideal situation would be by April, we've got our kids back in school. Learning 5 days a week. So that's something that I'm holding out a lot of optimism and hope for.
And I was thinking about, talking today, I'm not 100% familiar with the school calendar.
Yeah.
Are February and April breaks currently in the calendar, giving the kids and the teachers the break that they, okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All the breaks are still there. It's, in a way, it's been good too, but people are saying, hey, the Christmas break or the New Year's break, all these things, people are just, why don't you just cancel remote only for those 2 weeks after. That means we would be doing that every single break, right? You start setting that precedent. February break, oh, okay, now the next 2 weeks we're remote.
We're remote, yeah.
Then we come back for 4 weeks in March. Now we're gonna go 2 more weeks out because of the April break. Like, it's the start-stop thing is really frustrating for me as well.
Right.
So that's why we're trying to, as much as kids are losing out, and they are losing out. Let's be clear,
Right.
when they're only in person 2 days a week, they're still getting more from the social emotional component,
Right.
the structure of being in school, than they would be if they're sitting in front of the computer 6 hours.
So what's the last day of the school year right now?
June. Good question. I just wrote it yesterday. June 17th.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I have to bring up one last thing before you let
Sure.
you go. Hopefully this will give you a little laughter. The whole snow day thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's no laughter there either. I'm
Sorry.
the Grinch.
Though I loved seeing the fact that the teachers, as always, are innovative and worked with it and had the kids go out and do stuff
Right.
in the snow as part of the learning.
Sure.
So
yeah. Listen, it's not one of the agreements we came to when we negotiated the COVID experience for educators was they
Right.
wanted to stay in school.
Right.
The teachers were like, listen, it's going to be hard enough. We don't need 3 more days at the end of June remote or
Right.
in a hybrid. And if we've worked hard to create this environment, remote environment, let's use it.
Right.
The commissioner's been clear. He's not going to approve it going forward, even
Right.
next year.
Right.
So that's sort of, one of those things. And listen, I think we all want this to end and end earlier.
Yeah.
People forget, you start adding on snow days and guess what? We got to make them up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, Jim, thank you as always for
Thank
coming
you.
and letting us know what's going on. For those that are not as involved in the schools, you hear things. So I always love to get it directly from as they say, the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Get it from the source. So good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and our school committee and all of our educators for what they're doing for our students. And parents, just let's do the right thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Likewise. We'll see you soon.
I'm sure we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks, Alana.
Bye. And that wraps up our interview with Mr. Adams, the superintendent of the Ashland Public Schools. We'll be back with more Around the Clock.